Hey y'all, I'm Hope. Welcome back to my channel. Last month I talked about some of the series that I want to finish in 2023. I was very much thinking about goals last month and kind of setting my New Year's resolutions, as it were. But this month I want to talk about some of the series that I'm hoping to start. A lot of these are series that have been on my radar for a while. They're things that I'm really excited to be getting to, and you will hopefully be seeing content on these series from me sometime during this year. Fingers crossed I get to as many of them as possible. But when I was pulling these out, they kind of fell into a few convenient categories, so we're going to go through them in that order. The first category I have here is books that were on my priority TBR. So there were several books that ended up on my priority TBR that were series starts. That's what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, the first of these is the first book in the Great Cities duology by N.K. Jemisin. So the City We Became. I keep wanting to say The World We Make because that's the sequel that just came out. But this one is an urban fantasy story set in New York where every great city in the world has an avatar that kind of embodies the city and protects the city. New York, however, has 6 avatars, one for each bureau of the city. And these avatars end up needing to kind of come together and work together to defeat an entity that is trying to destroy the city. I think this sounds like a ton of fun, and I've been wanting to try something from N.K. Jemisin for a while now, and I think of all of the books she's written, this is the one with the premise that most interests me, so I'm pretty excited that this was on my priority TBR, which if you haven't seen that video, by the way, I will link it up in the top right. Next one on my priority TBR was The Shadow of the Gods, which is the first book in the Bloodsworn saga by John Gwynne. Almost said N.K. Jemisin, I was like, nope, that's not right. This I don't know much about, but I know it's an epic fantasy that's Norse inspired, and that's pretty much all I needed to know to be excited about it. I think it sounds really cool, and I've heard so many good things about John Gwynne's writing, and I've been wanting also to try something from him for a while. Then the third one that was on my priority TBR was Slippery Creatures by K.J. Charles, which is the first book in the Will Darling adventures. This is a series of queer historical mystery romances, and it just sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. It sounds delightful, and I got the first book in the series because Freya Marsk, who I've read some of her books and really enjoyed them. By some of, I mean one of, and I have another one on my shelf that I'm meaning to get to. I love her writing, and so she tweeted something about, like, this is one of my favorite romances, it's really good. So obviously I picked it up, and yeah, I'm excited to get to it. I think it's also going to be fun because it's a little bit different than some of the other things on this list. The next few things that I have are all series that have been really popular in the last few years that I'm kind of having some FOMO on. I really want to read these and see what everybody's been talking about. So that's going to be the next 3. And the first one is the Finlay Donovan series, starting with Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosmano. This is a cozy mystery series about a woman who is mistaken for a hit woman, although she's actually an author. So I think it sounds like it's going to be fun, and I've seen so many people loving this that I just really want to try it out and see what I think of it. And kind of on a similar note, don't fall. Finlay is trying to escape. Similar note is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, which is, I believe, also the name of the series, Thursday Murder Club. And this is also a series of mysteries. It's about a group of elderly folks who get together and try to solve cold cases, and then one day they find themselves involved in a very live, very real murder mystery. So I'm really excited for this one as well. I think it sounds like a lot of fun, and it's been a while since I really read very many mysteries. So I was excited to get some more on my list. And then the last really popular series I'd like to get to is The Locked Tomb, starting with Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I've seen so many people loving this series lately, and it sounds like it's just an absolute adventure, and I really want to get into it. I did read about 100 pages of Gideon the Ninth a couple of years ago. I'd gotten it from the library, but my library loan ended before I was able to actually finish the book, and I have just not had the time to get back to it. But it just sounds like it's going to be right up my alley, and it's going to be like weird and creepy and adventure-y, and it just sounds like it's going to be great. And I do own all 3 of the books that are out, despite having not finished Gideon. So I probably should read it at some point. The next 2 are series from authors that I already know and love, and I'm particularly excited about these. One of them I've already started, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But this first one is the series that actually kind of inspired this video for me. And this is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, which is the first book in the Indian Lake trilogy. The second book, Don't Fear the Reaper, just came out like this Tuesday. It's currently the 8th, so it was literally yesterday. And I pre-ordered it thinking that at this point I would have actually read the first book already because I love Stephen Graham Jones and I love reading his work. And somehow I've just not managed to get to this first book, but I am really wanting to. So this was kind of the book that inspired this video for me, and I'm really hopeful I can get to it soon because I'm gonna have Don't Fear the Reaper, I think, by the end of the week. And I would like to maybe binge both of them together. Not really sure yet, but I'm excited. And then this other one is the one that I've actually already started. This is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is the beginning of the Between Earth and Sky. I think it's a trilogy. I have also Fevered Star. I don't know if it's visible, but it's on the shelf down here. So again, I've ordered the sequel believing that I would have finished the first book ahead of time. I did not, but I was similarly 100 pages into this one. Absolutely loving it. Actually, I think I was almost 200 pages. I have 150. My bookmark is still in it. I started this 2 years ago during the Reindeer Readathon. I really want to read this at some point because I was loving what I had read of it. Like, again, I got 150 pages in, and I think I was taking classes at the time, or preparing to take classes. Yes, that was what happened. I was reading this during the Reindeer Readathon, and it was like the last thing I picked up, and then at the beginning of January, I started taking classes to kind of add to my transcript before I applied to graduate school. I was taking some higher level English classes before I transferred to a different field, and yeah, I just didn't get time to read this that January, and so it kind of fell by the wayside. The next few things are all books where my friend, who I usually like to talk to about books, she's already read them, and she's been waiting for me for ages to read these books so that we can talk about them. 2 of them are series that she really loves. One is one that she didn't like, but she would like to know what I think of it. So these are all books that my friend has been waiting on me to read for a while now. This first one is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri, which is the beginning of the Burning Kingdom series. This is one that my friend liked. She said it was really good, but it was slow-paced, and she's curious to see what I think of it. And I think she's already read or is planning to read this year the sequel, The Oleander Sword. So I know I'm going to like it, because if she says I'm going to like it, I'm going to like it. Like, she's never been wrong on that. But I'm scared. And so I haven't read this one yet. Kind of on the opposite end of things, she didn't like The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which is the first book in the Magic of the Lost series, but some of the things that she said about it are things that I think we may differ on some, so I think it's possible that I may end up liking this more than she did. So I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out. So this is, again, something I need to read so I can talk to her about it. And then the last one on this category is the first book in the Serpent Gates trilogy, The Unspoken Name by... Why is the author name just gone out of my brain all of a sudden? I can't remember the author's name, but it will be on screen somewhere. This book follows Kasorwe, who is an orc priestess, I believe, and she is destined on some specific day to be a sacrifice for her god. But then at the last minute, she's offered this opportunity to run away and escape with this wizard to become his assassin. And I believe she takes that opportunity. This is one that my friend has absolutely raved about. I know she loves this book. I don't know if she's read the sequel yet, but I know she was planning to, and it just sounds fantastic. It sounds like it's going to be right up my alley based on the things that she said about it. So again, it's one I just need to read so that I can talk to her about it. This last category are all books that are from new to me authors. They're authors I haven't read from before, but I've been hearing a lot of good things, or I know people who've read from them and enjoyed them. So the first one of these is the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie, starting with The Blade itself, which I actually currently have from my library, so I should be reading this one very soon. I wanted to read this one because the Ketchup Book Club is reading it, and I missed the beginning of their Elderling Long when they read the entire realm of the Elderling. So I wanted to try and jump onto this bandwagon while they're starting up the First Law Long. I believe the live show for this first book is supposed to be in March, because I think they're doing one every other month. It's like The Blade itself, January, February. I have forgotten the other names. Was it before they were hanged in the Last Argument of Kings? Yeah, so like the next 6 months are going to be those 3. So I want to go ahead and get to The Blade itself so that I can kind of, watch the live shows when they happen, because I always thought it looked like a lot of fun, and the Realm of the Elderlings seemed like that was a really cool experience, so I wanted to try and jump in on this one this go around since they are finally starting a new series. Next up, I have Legendaborn by Tracy Deonn. I believe the sequel for this one just came out as well, but this is the first book in the Legendborn cycle, I think. It sounds fantastic because it's an urban fantasy set at Chapel Hill, and it's about this young woman whose mother dies, and then she ends up going to this basically early college program at Chapel Hill, and finding out about the secret society that's based in the Arthurian myth. It sounds so cool. Like, it just sounds fun, and I've heard so many good things about it. I've seen a lot of people who are really excited for Bloodmark to come out, and I just really want to hop on that bandwagon as well. I think it sounds like it's going to be a really great time. And then the very last one that I have here on this list is Shards of Earth by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which is the first book in the Final Architecture series. I've heard a lot about Adrian Tchaikovsky, and my friend, who I've mentioned previously, she read Guns of the Dawn and absolutely loved it. So not this particular book, but she said that his character work was really great, and so I'm really excited to give this one a try. It sounds like it's going to be a really fun space adventure, and I already also own the second book of this series because I found it recently. So the trend continues of me thinking I will have read the first book and then not have read the first book when I acquire the second one. So I need to go ahead and get to this one so I can read the second book. And I think the third book in this series comes out later this year, so I'm excited about that. I think based on what I've heard about this series and the little bit of it I did read, because I read a couple of pages of this book, and then I also just like read a random excerpt out of the second book before I bought it. And just, I think I'm going to love it. I think I'm going to really enjoy the tone of this, so I'm excited to get to this one as well. So I'm not going to try and pick them all up because this will end in disaster for sure. I've already knocked the camera over once today, so we're not going to do that again. But those are all the series that I'm hoping to get to, all of the series I'm hoping to start in 2023. I'm really excited about all of these. I think they're going to be a lot of fun, and I'm hopeful to be able to make some content for you guys about all these series as the year progresses. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and if you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.